Hillary, can you hear me now?
Man.
Good. I didn't notice that I was muted. I don't know why my picture is not showing. It's when I hit the video, it says you can't start your video because host has stopped it.
Oh, I don't know. Let me see.
Okay. How are you doing today?
Huh.
Are you feeling better?
I'm gonna make you the host and see if that works.
Okay.
It did not. I am feeling a little better.
Oh, good. Oh, there we go. Oh, I gotta take the background. It's so funny because I was doing a family Zoom showing old pictures.
I love it.
So I was doing my old pictures as a virtual background. So
I love it.
Isn't that funny? There we go. That's more boring, but
That's okay.
yeah. So let me pull up my screen here, my presentation. How many people did you have register?
46.
That's pretty good. This is such a hard topic to do online, honestly.
Well, people are starting to go back to their offices and things now. They're not as home.
Yeah.
They're not home and looking for.
Yeah, I just wish I had live people to do it with, you know.
Yeah.
Such is life, right? Okay, let me try sharing my screen and see how that looks for you. How's that?
Right.
Good. And then I'll open my chat box and encourage people to give me questions as we go. Perfect.
I'm going to do one more quick shout out.
Okay. So I'll put that up. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I figure that's always more fun. If people have questions as we go, I can address them, or try to at least.
Yes. Trying to see what I can do. Using my husband's computer because I'm home today and I don't understand it. I'm not an Apple person. I like my PC and I can't.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I get in front of a PC and it's like all Greek to me.
Yeah, that's him. He was like, I don't understand what's so hard about it. Because I'm old now and I don't like new things.
Yeah, aren't we all like that? I know you get used to your thing and that's it, you know. I hear ya. I've been learning a lot about Zoom though.
Yeah. Well, I've never used it and I'm still learning, trying to figure things out today.
Yeah, you know what I've had a lot of fun with is because I teach students on it and I put them in their little individual rooms. Do you know how to?
I saw that just now, but I don't know about the rooms or how to work.
They go to their breakout rooms and do their work, and then I can check in on all the rooms to see if they're really working. It's pretty fun.
Neat.
Yeah. So all this stuff. Oh, now did what I send you last time as a follow-up, did that work for you?
Honestly, I don't know if I saw it or not.
It was,
I may have sent it to my dad's in ICU right now, and they just moved him into hospice care. And this past week has been like a nightmare. So I've been out and out of like not actually working, and anyway, been chaos. So I apologize. I have not been up to what I need to do.
You know what? I can't believe you have to deal with this right now. I'm so sorry. All things, right?
It's been awful. But anyway, so now I have not looked at it. And now I can't remember if I sent it on to Becky, who's our communications person.
Okay. Let me know if I can help. If you want me to send people directly, I can do a little newsletter with all the links in it.
I have help at the office. I just need to check in with them and make sure that I've gotten them everything they need.
Okay. I just, as much as I can take off your shoulders, let me know.
Thank you.
Seriously, I'll send a follow-up today after, because I want to share the lessons and stuff with people. And if you want me to follow up with your communications office, just tell me what to do. I'm happy to do it.
Okay, or I will send her the info.
Okay.
When we're finished.
I'm really
Thank you
sorry.
very much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm not.
No, I mean, if you're gonna.
I'm a mess.
Sorry. Is it COVID or is it just ill?
No, he has all kinds of, he had a stroke 6 years ago. He was crushed in the coal mines like in the late 60s, and it left a lot of scar tissue in his pelvic area. So he's had to have a surgery to have a tube into his bladder. And that was about 6 years ago. That happened right after the stroke. Had a heart attack and a 6 bypass surgery. He gets frequent UTIs, but he's just he has black lung, COPD, and something else going on in his lungs. He's just sick. He's been sick for a long time, and it's finally just got him down. He had sepsis this last week, and then he had got a pneumonia infection, and then he aspirated and got another pneumonia infection, and
what a week.
He just keeps declining. Every day it seems like something else has happened. So they just moved him into hospice care, but he's still at the hospital.
Yeah.
But it's not.
What a tough time. I'm sorry you have to deal
with a breakdown on you right now. And he's 2.5 hours away, which is hard. My sister's with him right now, though. So that's the only way they would let us see him, is if we put him into hospice care.
Yeah, that's good.
So
my parents are elderly, and they're in good health, but they won't let anyone come see them because they're just isolated away. So it's like
right. Well, he requires 24-hour care. He's was bedridden already, so my sisters and I take turns taking care of him. I have 3 sisters. So we were able to see him, but we were only going one at a time, and just as his caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
But once he had to go into the hospital, they wouldn't let us go in. So they're allowing one person at a time right now.
I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. And that's like, I'm frustrated right now. They told us yesterday 2 of us could stay at a time, that his sisters could come visit, that it would be fine as long as it was just 2 people at a time. Yeah. Today they've told us that only one person at a time, only us 4 girls. And so he had a sister show up today, and they wouldn't let her in. And that we have to stay in the room for our entire stay there. So they had told us we could go get something to eat, come back, that it was all fine.
Yeah.
And it's not. So I'm about ready to battle with the hospital.
Oh, crazy times.
So we may end up just taking him home.
I'm sorry. Good luck with all that. And whatever I can take off your shoulders, just let me know if I can follow up for you.
I sure appreciate it. Thank you. Now that we've
taken that bird
done all the downed everything. We have 18 people in. Looks like.
Are they? Hopefully, they're in the waiting room.
I tried to do that. I'm hoping that I did. Yeah, most of them look like people I know, so it's okay. Mm-hmm.
And you need to meet an end right at well, what is 11 o'clock my time?
Yeah, if you can at all. If not, I can send my boss a message. And
Yeah, I'm pretty good at timing it. So I've got a lot of videos today, but what I can do is if it looks like we're going long, go through them, you know, not show the whole thing, and then people can contact me if they want the links to watch them on their own.
Okay. Oh, maybe they are listening to us talk right now.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I got all my personal business today.
Well, aren't we all going through something right now, right?
Hmm. Do you see how to allow them in?
Well, I think you have to do it on your end. Let me see. Let me just see if I can do it on this side. Hold on. Participants. Looks like they're in already.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you guys all in? Yep, they're in.
Okay.
Well, people saying they're in. Welcome. I'll put a message.
All right. Is it? So it's 1 o'clock now. I think we could go ahead and.
Hey. I'll just checking to make sure we can see the screen okay.
Okay.
And just let me know if you want to start or if you want me to start.
I can go ahead and just real quick. I just want to say hello really quick. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Welcome back to Diana. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We appreciate you. And I'm going to step out and mute out everything. If anybody has any questions for me or needs anything, please just type it in the chat box. I am at home and I do have dogs that are loud, so I'm going to try to keep them out of our video today. But thank you so much for joining us again, Diana.
Thank you, Hillary. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hello, all. Happy to see your face, Hillary. As you can see, we have the chat box up, and I'm really encouraging you guys to use it today. It's so hard to deliver these things without feedback, I have to be honest. So please stop me along the way with your questions or comments, and I'll keep checking it as we go. And just if anyone on there could give me the thumbs up that if you see the screen okay, that should say, what is information literacy and media literacy? Anybody? Yes, okay, I'm gonna go. All right, so these are two topics that are near and dear to my own heart, but they're kind of topical today too, because if you've been watching the news, we're sort of having a battle between our government and Twitter. What is okay to put on there? Do you let consumers know if information is false? Does Twitter have a responsibility to do that, or do they not have a responsibility to do that? So it's really putting a spotlight today of all days on the importance of being able to decipher online information. And as they battle it out, I think our job as parents and teachers is to help kids acquire these skills so that they can look at information online and make these decisions on their own. So that's really the bottom line of what we're doing today. I'm gonna take you through how we do, whoa, hold on one second here. Trying to get there we go. Okay, so Just as a little background on me, I run a couple organizations. Cyber Civics is our online program for students. It's a curriculum for middle school that you'll hear a little bit about today. CyberWise is our resource site for parents. It's full of free information. We have a newsletter that comes out every couple of weeks, full of not only information on digital literacy, but also online safety, every app you can imagine, etc. And then I wrote a book called Raising Humans in a Digital World, helping parents learn how to help their kids build a healthy relationship with technology. And at the end of each chapter, I offer lessons and activities. Really encourage you to, if you want to read it, go to the activities at the end and do them together with your families. And I do want to say there's a free discussion guide that goes along with the book. You can get it at the website. All right, so here's what we're doing today. Last week, as you know, we covered digital citizenship, which is the safe and responsible use of digital tools. And this is just the beginning. I learned this teaching this to students after a year, is that it's great to teach them how to be responsible and safe, but that's really not the end goal. That's just the beginning. What we want to do is teach kids how to use the internet and digital tools in a really productive way so that they can do research, learn new skills, connect with others, and have a great digital footprint. So that's what this is about today. And there was some research that came out a few years ago from Pew Research Center about how teens do research in the digital world. And what they discovered is they don't do it well. For a lot of teens, when they do research, it's just Googling. They just Google and they take whatever they get. And as we just discussed, or I just discussed, is there's a lot of misinformation online. So it's really important for kids to go past just Googling and to learn how to look at online information with a critical eye. After that research came out, there were a lot of articles saying Googling is just not enough, and I totally agree. All right. So again, the way that I'm going to cover these topics today is how we cover it in Cyber Civics. It's a 3-year curriculum taught weekly in middle school, and we spend a whole year on that digital citizenship stuff, the safe and responsible use of tools. And then we follow it up with a year of information literacy, which we think is really important. There's a lot of parts to it that I'm going to show you right now. We break it up into 6 different units. The way we attack it is we think of it as helping students learn how to find, retrieve, analyze, and use online information. We start it in kind of a different way though. Before we jump right in learning how to use the internet as a research tool, we want kids to look at how much time they spend online and what they spend their time doing. So we do a little unit on learning balance. And the reason we do this is really what we've heard from parents. Parents' #1 concern about their kids, especially in middle school, is how much time they spend online. And so we try to address this right off the bat with a couple lessons. And as I go through this, you'll see how we do these lessons in school. It really doesn't involve computers at all when they're in the classroom. They can do these things hands-on. So we have the kids take a look at how they spend their time with screens on a typical day. So this is some of the work of my students. I have them actually write down everything they do from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed at night, everything, not just digital activities, but other activities too. And then when they come to the classroom, they make these little activity charts. So it's actually a little bit of math. They make graphs so they can visually see how they spend their time during the day. So here you see how much time this child spent watching doing video games, using a cell phone, computer, television, DVDs, compared to their other activities. And then I put the students into groups of 4 and have them add up all of their screen time together. So you see this group of 4 students spent 49 hours on one day using digital media, which comes out to, do the math there, a lot of time per student, but not far off the national average. And then I have the whole class give me their data. We put it on the board, we stand back and we take a look at it, really analyzing it. There's no judgment here, but I want the kids to see how they spend their time on a typical day. And usually the outcome of this lesson is kids are kind of like, whoa, I have no idea. I spent so much time with my screens. And so, it's really powerful for them to come to that conclusion on their own. And it really sets us up for the homework that goes with this lesson. I asked kids to spend 24 hours media free and to document what that was like in a little paragraph to me. So this is a paragraph I got from one of my students who did not want to do this assignment. He wrote, "Last Saturday, I went 24 hours without media. It was difficult because my life revolves so much around media. Instead, I had to do other things like play with my dogs or walk at the park or even go for bike rides with my family. The best thing about doing this is after a while, you start to feel calm and relaxed. I believe all people should try to go 24 hours without media." So that's a pretty typical paragraph that I get out of my students, which makes me realize this is a generation that has probably never known 24 hours without a screen. And so to give them the opportunity of what that feels like is really a gift. And for a lot of kids, it's kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly. This particular boy who fought me so badly about doing this assignment actually asked me to do it a couple more times during the year because it felt so good, is what he told me. So anyway, one of the things about cyber civics is that we send home activities that families can do together that align with every lesson we teach in the classroom. So obviously for these activities, we ask the parents to try to write down everything they do on a typical day and then try to go 24 hours without media. And my students always warn me that that's a super bad idea, and they're usually right. Here's a little paragraph I got from one of my kids. First of all, my parents are weak. They couldn't even separate from their devices for half an hour, which made it really hard for me. So I like to throw that out there because it's a good reminder to me that sometimes we're not the best digital role models. All right, so that's how we ease into the year. We also follow that up with a couple lessons on online safety, super important before they start using the internet as a research tool. Is just we want them to do it safely, so we teach them these different dangers that they could possibly encounter out there. But we try to make it fun for the students too and interactive. So one of the lessons I really enjoy is having them make their own stop, go, and slow signs that they'll use throughout the year. And then we do a couple activities. Well, I'll read typical scenarios that might happen to a student of this age. Rosa is at Starbucks doing her homework. She's logged into the coffee shop's public Wi-Fi. She gets bored and decides to check one of her social networks. When she sees something she wants to buy, she has a brand new debit card and sees no harm in using it, public Wi-Fi. So I have the kids hold up, is that go, stop, somewhere in between. And then we have a discussion about it because they might have had that situation or known a friend in that situation. And it really allows them to discuss it with their peers and come up with a conclusion on their own. So that's pretty typical of how we do these lessons. We try to engage the kids so that they're coming to conclusions on how to best use digital media. All right, so now we get into the really important stuff, which is searching the web. What I've discovered teaching this to students is they think they know so much about searching because they obviously know how to use Google, but they really don't understand the mechanics of all the parts that go into a digital search. So that's where we start. Very first lesson is how does search work? So we teach them all the terms. World Wide Web, for example, is actually computers networked together around the world. So they learn that. A question to you. Do you guys know the difference between a browser and a search engine? Anybody? I'm going to give you a second to put that up there. Two things that we use every single day, and a lot of adults don't know the difference between the two. So I'm going to show you a funny little video that you might relate to.
I call it the search engine. That's what I call it, the browser.
What is a browser?
Browse is a search engine. It's a search engine. Browse. What?
It's where I search through, like to find things. It's where you put your search terms, correct?
What is a browser?
Google. What else?
Browse is what you use to look at internet web pages.
What is a browser? I use the Yahoo. No, is that not a browser?
Do you know what the difference is between a search engine and a browser?
Well, not exactly. I mean, no. I don't know. I guess the internet is just where you find anything, and I guess you browse the same way. Hell, I know, man.
A browser is when you know what you're looking for, and a search engine is when you're searching for something.
I assume a browser is the way to get on, but
All right, so you get the idea. So even as adults, it's something we use every day, and a lot of adults can't articulate the difference between the two. So what I do with students is when we teach them all these different terms is I want them to make analogies. So a kid came up with this, and it's a really great way for me to remember the difference between the two. But a browser is like the windshield of a car, and a search engine is like the steering wheel. So there's a great analogy. And I wanted to share this one with you too. It's a little hard to read, but I thought it was a really smart way to describe a URL. This child came up with the idea of it's like a train, and each part of the train are the different parts of the URL. There's the protocol at the beginning, www, which stands for World Wide Web. YouTube is the domain name, and then the end is, in this case, the .com is the commercial website. And he says the URL is like a train, which gets you to your destination in less than a second. So that seems super simplistic, but I thought about it yesterday because I had my college-age daughter over, and she was saying that her roommate, who also is a college graduate, found a piece of a news article that she believed online, and she showed it to my daughter. She goes, "Can you believe this?" And my daughter said, "Look at the URL. Like, it's not a normal URL because it doesn't follow that protocol." And I thought, wow, that's really interesting that, you know, that's a great way to tell if something's false online is by looking at the URL. And unless you teach kids how to read a URL, they're not going to have that information. So again, this kid will always remember that it's like a train and there's different parts to it. Okay, so the other thing we teach kids what keywords to use. And that's really important because Google or whatever search engine you're going to use is only going to give you as good information as you ask it. So we do this with a little activity in class where I bring in really odd items, and a child has to describe the item to the class, who's Google in this, or a search engine in this case, without using any words in the item. For example, they would describe an apple as a red or green round juicy fruit, and the kids would have to guess that's an apple. Or a barrette would be a metal clasp that holds Strand's head. And again, it's just like you do when you're doing search engine. You don't know what it is that you're trying to find, but you need to describe it as best you can so Google can get you the best answer. And that's what we practice in the classroom. And then this is a really obvious one too. You know, when we get a page that gives us our information, you know, all of the search engines are really good at hiding ads on your results page. And there's a lot of other information on the results page too. So reading a results page is a really important thing for a digital citizen or information literacy skill that we should have, is being able to actually evaluate the results that we get, sift through the ads, sift through the sponsored stuff, and get to the real results that we're looking for. So that's how we start this unit. I really love the unit that follows this because, as you guys know, when we do search, like let's say, you know, I'm looking for a sofa for my house, I might Google that, and for the next month or two, I'm going to get ads for sofas just barraged in all my social media networks. That happens all the time. And so it's really important for kids to know that when they use the internet, their personal information in their search information, which is personal information, is being collected and used by the internet. So that's what this unit is about. We want them to learn that the personal information is the price that they pay for free online information. That's just the commerce exchange that we make when we go and use the internet. What you tell the internet is what it gives you in return. And this is how sometimes we end up in these filter bubbles where we're only getting information that the internet thinks we want. So this is a really powerful unit to do with the kids. I love the lesson that starts this unit. I think I got this actually from one of Common Sense Media's older lessons. I don't know that it's still in their curriculum, but it's an awesome way to introduce kids to this idea. And what I do is I come in the classroom, I say, hey, there's no class today because the school principal has hired researchers that are going to come to campus, and they're going to follow you around all day. They're going to write down what you eat, who you play with, what you do in school, what time you go home, and they're going to use that data to make school better. And so as I'm telling this to 7th graders who are skeptical anyway, because of where they are developmentally, they freak out and they say, this is terrible. And I said, well, if you don't like it, I need you to write a letter to the principal explaining what you don't like about it. Got to share this letter with you. Don't you think that having someone follow children around without their permission is an invasion of personal privacy? The thought is a little in the right place, but it's a little creepy. No, not a little creepy, a lot creepy. I don't want somebody to know who I hang out with, how many times I use the restroom, or count how many carrot sticks I have for a snack. Privacy is highly important, and just because we are children doesn't mean that we don't have a need for personal privacy. I think my fellow students have a similar opinion. So that's what I got from the kids. And so we talk about their letters, and then, of course, the end of the lesson is, hey, you guys don't like this? Well, this is what happens every time you go online. They're collecting your personal information and doing exactly what you say you don't like in real life. And it's funny to me because I've done this lesson at the same school 10 years, so I've definitely had siblings in the class, and every year it gets them and they're always like, whoa, that's crazy. And so it really gets them to have sort of like a visceral reaction to the thing of having your personal information collected. So it makes it real easy to do the next lesson, which is I have the kids read the privacy policies of social media sites they like and use. This year we read the privacy policy of TikTok, which was very powerful because as you might know, TikTok has gotten a lot of trouble in the past few years for the way that they mishandle personal information. They've been just hit with these incredibly large fines. And so it was a great one for the kids to read because they found a lot of things in it that really kind of shocked them. And so that was something that I found to be very powerful in the classroom. So when I did this lesson a couple years ago, we did the privacy policy of Snapchat. We happened to get visited by the Today Show right after I did that lesson. And so you can see what the kids talked to them about.
Sharing people's personal information without their consent.
Let me start from there. Okay, there you go.
With Facebook facing fresh backlash for sharing people's personal information without their consent, these kids in California are reading the fine print.
We've been learning about like privacy policies and terms of agreement.
That freaked you out?
Yeah.
You guys have friends in 7th grade, obviously, outside of this school and outside your class.
Yeah.
Do any of them read the terms of agreement on social media?
No. I know. Yeah.
But they admit they feel the pull. Who texts? Everybody texts. Who FaceTimes?
FaceTime. Oh, yeah.
And in this class, their devices aren't a distraction. They're their homework. What is this homework assignment?
It's a digital diet.
Wait a minute, you guys made charts?
Yeah.
Olivia did a lot of sleeping, 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I'm not going to have you watch the whole thing, but I wanted you to see how excited they were about reading privacy policies. He wanted to interview them about their digital diets, and they kept going back to like, but you wouldn't believe what we saw in our privacy policies yesterday. So it made me think that that was really, it hit them pretty deeply where they were. So the end of this unit, we actually cover passwords because passwords are our first line of defense when it comes to protecting your personal privacy. We give them the rules for making safe and memorable passwords. I just did this with my students before we had to go into quarantine, and it was cute because when we put this on the board, they all jumped up and they said, Mrs. Graber, would you mind if I took a screenshot of this to share with my parents? Because my parents are really bad about this. So these are my students that they jumped up to take a picture so that they send it home to their parents, so their parents would also follow the 7 rules for great passwords. I thought that was awesome. So one of the things that we do in order to have kids really remember the 7 rules is we play a little game with them. And this game actually tells them that they can use a mnemonic to help remember to make a good password. Here's an example. So every kid in the class gets the name of a famous person, a historical figure, and that person is their mnemonic, their memory device to help them make a password. So they make a password using that person as their memory device. They write it on the board, and the rest of the class has to try to guess who their mnemonic was. So I'm going to see if you guys are awake out there. Can you guess who the mnemonic was for the first and second passwords here? Somebody's got to be out there, right? You guys guess who was their memory device or the famous person that inspired them to make these 2 really great passwords. And the thing about these passwords is they both follow the rules. The 7 rules I just gave you, upper, lowercase, a number, a symbol, no personal information. So the first one is Lincoln because it's the 16th president, and the second one is Shakespeare, obviously Romeo and Hamlet. So I thought those were pretty good ones. Okay. So then we do a unit on copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons. To me, these sound boring when you say it, but whenever we do our research at the end of 3 years and ask students what unit they like the best, for some reason, copyright is always their #1 unit. And I think it's because we have a generation of kids who really like to make things. They love their TikTok videos. They love to post things on YouTube. And so we have this emerging generation of creative consumers, and they want to protect the things they make. So we want to teach them where we are right now with copyright law. As you may or may not know, when you write something down, record it, or post it on the internet, it's automatically protected by this very powerful law. So that's where we start with this unit. We want kids to make something that they're really proud of. So this is like a long time ago, the video I'm going to just show you. I used to have kids make happy birthday songs because that song was protected by copyright, so they had to write their own. So I'm just going to show you a little clip of some of the students.
It's your birthday! It's your birthday! We're gonna party on your birthday! Happy birthday! Feliz cumpleaños!
So I'm going to stop that for a second. So that's what I did a few years ago. This year, my kids are in quarantine, so my lessons are being conducted on Zoom. So I wanted to do the same lesson, but I wanted to be relevant. So, you know, a lot of times they tell us when we wash our hands today that we should wash our hands in the length it takes us to sing happy birthday. So this year, what I told my students is they had to write hand washing songs. And so they had to write them, post them, and send them to me. This is one of the ones I got. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Again, I don't think we'll have time to watch the whole thing, but I'll play a clip of it. Oh, that's giving it away. Hold on a second here.
Are used to get sick like all the time. I went to my doctor and she recommended a treatment called washing your hands. I was so amazed with these results. It makes me want to sing.
So again, I'm not going to make you watch that whole thing, but what I wanted to show you is it's pretty crazy. Kids love to film themselves videos, singing, making things. And again, it's a super creative generation. And so I think it was fun for them to have this little assignment while they're in quarantine. They wrote me these great songs. Some of them performed them. Some of them played it on the piano. It was really nice. But the purpose was I wanted them to have a creative work that they were really proud of, that would have them know what it felt like to maybe if someone were to take their song and use it elsewhere and not give them credit for it or not pay them for it or not tell them they were using it, which happens a lot on the internet. It also gave us a way to introduce a really important variation to copyright right now, which is called Creative Commons. It's sort of the new generation of copyright that has a more lenient license available to creative artists. Perhaps you've seen these around the internet. They're behind a lot of movies that we watch or videos, documentaries, that kind of thing. And I want students to know what they mean because they're going to see them more and more. So we introduce what the licenses mean and they have to decide what kind of license they would want to give to their own creative work that they just made. So in this case, the kid chose something that would mean that they'd have to get creative, they would have to be credited for their work. The person couldn't make money on it and they'd have to share it with others. All right, so.
But it's hard for him to make a living when people
don't. I don't think we're going to have time to watch this, but there's some really great videos in the curriculum too that introduce kids to copyright.
You might be wondering why copyright matters, or why a kid would be talking about copyright at all. Here's why. Yesterday, I made a new friend, and we like the same music. She asked if I heard this great song. I told her no, so she says, "Here, you can copy mine."
So these are things that I'm happy to send you. I'm going to send out, in fact, if you would make me a note if you're interested in the URLs of these. These are all on YouTube, and I'm happy to share them at the end. If you'd like to see the way that we introduce kids to these lessons via the videos, just let me know. All right, so the final unit in 7th grade, or the second level of cyber civics, is Wikipedia. As you know, when you Google something, oftentimes Wikipedia is the first result you're going to get. Some teachers don't like their students using Wikipedia, so what we try to do is teach kids how Wikipedia works and how to analyze a Wikipedia page. So that's part of this unit. We actually use Wikipedia, and then we show them how to actually read a page. What the different parts of it, what makes it accurate or inaccurate, and more importantly, what to do with those links at the bottom, because there's always some really great resources at the end of a Wikipedia page. The thing that I love about Wikipedia, it's a great example of collaborative work, how together as a group of people, we know more as a group than the one person, even if they're the smartest person in the world. And so we want kids to put that collective energy together for the final thing that we do at this level. And I see that you guys want the URLs. So when I send the follow-up information, I'll include the URLs to the videos that I'm sharing today. Okay, so this is my favorite way to give a test. It's called our collaborative final. And so it covers everything that we do in the information literacy level, but the kids get to take the test collaboratively, which means that if they know the answer, great. If they provide the answer to somebody else, they get a point for doing that in addition to getting it right on their own test. So it's a great way to watch your kids run around the room and collectively answer all the questions to the things they've learned during the year. And I wish I could do it with you, which is what I do when I do these workshops in person, to show you the power of learning together that way. All right, so I did that pretty quick, but that gives you an idea of how we cover information literacy, which again is like, you know, everything we do in cyber civics is like scaffolding skills, okay? So once we give these kids the great information literacy skills, it's time to attack media literacy, which I would argue is one of the most important things to be teaching kids today. Everywhere you turn, we encounter media, and it's really upon us to be critical thinkers of what we're looking at to understand what is valid, true, and good information. So what we do in this level is we help kids use their critical thinking skills to evaluate media messages and learn how to become positive media participants, which is really the end game here. Just like level 2, we start this level by taking a look at how they use their time online. We want them to understand that they're part of a participatory culture. That's a term that was coined by scholar Henry Jenkins. And what that means is, I mean, all of us with our phones, we are basically walking publishing companies. So this is something that was not around when I was young. The power of being able to put a tweet out there that could be read around the world is incredible, but it also gives us power, but it also gives us a lot of responsibility, not only to put out things that are going to make our digital reputation shine, but also that are true and valid and contributing to the society good. So that's what we want to talk about in this unit. Like level 2, we have the kids analyze the time they spend on digital media, but we do it in an entirely different way. What we have them do is look at their media use, but talk about whether they're using it just consuming media. Did they just watch 10 hours of Netflix? Or did they produce or participate in media? Did they make a video that was really cute that maybe they put on TikTok? Or did they write a blog post? Or did they, you know, interact doing homework with somebody else online? That's a really different use of media than just consuming it, and we want kids to analyze their media use in that way. Again, we do a little math, they make a chart, this time it's a pie graph. You can see this kid found that they've spent 91% of their time consuming media and only that little tiny slice of the pie participating with media. We do this lesson again at the end of the year, and hopefully that's shifted because of all the work we've done throughout the lessons. This is that same student at the end of the year got to producing was much more time than just consuming. So I thought that was pretty cool. Level 3, we really want to start doing things online. So this is one of the lessons we do, and we do it on paper first because a lot of the schools we work with don't have as much access to digital tools as we would hope they would in this day and age. So this is one that they can do on paper. So we have the kids write a blog post about a research project or something that they've done in school. And then that's an important part of being a digital participant. We could all be blogging or writing online. But just as important is how we comment on one another's posts. Whenever you comment on something online, that contributes to your digital reputation as much as anything else because that can be traced back to you. So we want to teach our children how to comment respectfully and positively to one another. Even if you have something negative to say, there's a way to say it that's more polite than saying, I hate that, right? So we just use Post-its. So the kids each get Post-its, they pass their blogs around the room, and they practice commenting in constructive ways to that kid's post. So it's a way for them to practice these online skills offline first before they go online to do things that might permanently affect their digital reputations. So that's just an example of how we try to engage these kids with hands-on activities before we get into the really important part of media literacy, which is starting to analyze misinformation online. So I teach them something called this. I had to just do this lesson online last week, so I started it with this image and told the kids that's what we were learning today. CRAP is actually an acronym for something that came from, I learned it from a professor, Howard Reingold. He's a professor up at Stanford University. And it's an acronym to help us analyze misinformation online. Perhaps you've heard of it. I love this saying from Hemingway, every man should have a built-in crap detector operating inside of him. How apropos for today, right? But basically it's an acronym to remind you that when you encounter something online that you think might be untrue or misinformation, give it the crap test. Number 1, find out how current the information is. Number 2, ask yourself how reliable the information is. Number 3, ask yourself who the author is. And number 4, ask yourself, does it have a purpose or point of view? Or are they trying to sell you something? Some teachers are not comfortable using the acronym CRAP, so very easy to stick a second A in there, and for that A, it could stand for accuracy, so then you're giving your kids the CRAAP test, so it's really your choice. Okay, so I'm actually doing this lesson, as I mentioned, with my group of 7th graders right now, and for them, what we've done is that we have a collection of websites that it's their job to give it the CRAP test. This is one of the websites, and then they have this little worksheet. They have to ask themselves, is it current? Is it reliable? Who's the author? What's the purpose or point of view? I think there's a 12 websites I have them look at. Some of them are actually real websites, and a lot of them are just false misinformation. So they have a lot of fun going through them and trying to apply the CRAP test. And it's a test they're going to refer to again and again throughout the year, because basically we're going to be critical viewers of information, and I want them to have a really easy mechanism in order to analyze online information. I myself use this all the time. I see an article maybe shared on Facebook by somebody, and I ask myself these 4 questions to determine if it's accurate information or not. And if it's not, I report it, because I think it's really important for us to stand up to misinformation online. Okay, so this leads us into our next unit, fake news. There's a lot of information to draw from right now in order to teach children this topic. So it's a really fun one. It's a unit that we refresh every year with new data in our curriculum. And one of the reasons why this is so important right now is the World Health Organization just made this comment just a few days ago. We're not just fighting an epidemic, we're fighting an infodemic. So these are skills that are really important for all of us. I'm actually going to take the time to show you our video for this, because I think it's really good, and it will show you all the topics that we teach kids about in the classroom. Whoops, I got to start this from the beginning.
You've probably heard this term.
Fake news, fake news.
Fake news.
Sorry, I screwed up. I'm really sorry about this. Let me just get back to that. Too many dials here for me to get lost in. Okay, where are we? Okay, I think this will start at the beginning now.
It's fake news.
Fake news, fake news.
But what exactly is fake news? And more importantly, why should you care about it? Let's start by looking at its history.
Well, wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. But it's standing on legs. Those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
While fake news is nothing new, the internet has made it easier than ever for fake news to spread and even happen in the first place. Here's why. Before the internet, most people got their news from the paper, radio, or television. Because there were fewer sources providing news, it was in the best interest of each to be as reputable as possible. But with the internet, news moved online. Suddenly, anyone could post information on places like Facebook and Twitter. With so much information coming at us from all angles, it's easy to get duped. Especially when articles are made to look like verified news sources. People generally believe it to be true because it looks like news. This is happening more than ever. In fact, studies show that 75% of people who see fake news think it's real news. It can be really hard to tell when something is fake. Even our own eyes can be tricked. This is called a deep fake. Videos like this one use artificial intelligence to make it look like someone is saying or doing something they never actually did. Being duped by false information can have devastating effects on society and our democracy. That's why it's more important than ever for you to know what fake news is, be able to recognize it, and know how to stop it from spreading. So back to our original question, what is fake news? Fake news is when news, stories, or hoaxes are created to deliberately misinform or deceive. It also helps to know what fake news is not. News you don't like or simply don't agree with is not fake news. Stories that poke fun at real news, on parody sites for example, are not fake news. Opinion pieces on news sites are not fake news, and honest mistakes are not fake news. Still, recognizing fake news is hard. That's why it's up to you to be critical of what you see and hear online. A good way to do this is by using the CRAP test. Find out if the article is current. Sometimes old articles are recirculated online. Ask if the site where the article is posted is reputable. Open a second tab on your computer and look into the site that hosts the article. Find out who the author is. Is it a person with verifiable credentials? Find out the purpose or point of view of the article. Is it trying to sell you something or convince you of their position? Finally, you can always use plain old common sense. If you see something online that makes you scratch your head, then it's time to start doing some sleuthing. These sites can help. It can be easy to be tricked online, but if you're smart and ask questions, you can stop fake news in its tracks. Whatever you do, don't make, share, send, or like fake news. And watch out for clickbait. It's up to you to call foul on fake news.
So that's an example of some of the many student videos we have throughout the curriculum. That one pretty much summarizes what we teach them in several different lessons in the fake news unit. One of my favorite lessons in that unit is Simon Says It's Fake. So they actually play Simon Says, and we put a bunch of different articles in front of them, and they have to stand up if it's fake, sit down if it's not fake, and then we talk about each of the articles. So again, we really try to engage kids viscerally in these what could be otherwise dry topics. Okay, so following the fake news unit, really important unit on stereotypes and media misrepresentations or representations. This is a really deep unit, especially I would say for the female participants in the class, because it's such a heavy burden, especially with social media putting out these incredible images of stereotypes and how we're supposed to look, you know, be perfect or whatever. It's hard for boys too. So we actually talk about that. We talk a lot about how genders are represented in the news, how different races are represented, how things are sometimes distorted or we're held up to unrealistic expectations. So we do several lessons along those that are very deep with the students. And then follow that up with a unit on visual literacy. And we have to remember that today for a lot of kids, the information they're getting is visual. It's not even words, it's visual, especially in their social media networks like Instagram. And I do want to note there's a lot of news coming at kids on their social media networks. So all of these skills are so important for them if they're using social media. But in our visual literacy unit, we really talk about how visual images can be distorted in a myriad of ways. You immediately jump to Photoshop, but there's so many other ways that visual images are distorted simply by how you take them. So in this lesson, we teach the kids how a photographer can take a picture in many different ways to tell a different story. And then I let the kids actually try those skills out themselves. So in this example, the kid on the left is actually the shortest kid in the class, but the way he was shot makes him look tall. The kid on the right was the tallest kid in the class, but the way he was shot makes him look tiny. So that lets kids practice that skill of setting up a picture to tell the story that you want to tell. And then like most of the units in cyber civics, we try to give it a historical grounding. And so in this one, we talk about how there was Photoshop before Photoshop was even invented. Photos were manipulated way back when to tell a different story, sometimes to manipulate history. So in this is a whole series that we do with the kids, but this is a really great one. It's the Civil War generals in 1865. But this photo was actually manipulated. It is not the original photo. So I don't know if you guys can guess what's been changed in this photo, but I'll show you the original one right here. So you can see that there was a person not standing here. He was added later. That's the final photo. And the reason they added him is because he was a really important player in the war, Civil War, and they felt that it was important to have him in the image, so he was added later. I'll show you another example that we show the kids. This is actually manipulated as well. It's the Iranian missile test in 2008. It was released by SEPA News, a major media outlet that showed the test firing of the Shahab-3 missile. It was manipulated, as we learned later. This is the original photo. Yeah, so you can see it was changed there. And the reason for that change, obviously, in order to conceal that the second missile from the right hand was not fired somewhere in the editorial process, it was decided that it would be better to paste a successful launch in its place. So like so much stuff online, there's a reason behind it. In this one, it was to sort of change history. And so when we do this with the students, we actually have a whole series, and I show the kids the first lesson, I mean the first image up on the board, and then together we talk about it, and then we show them the final image, and they become very engaged in that. And then we follow that lesson up actually with a lesson on Photoshop. We update these every year because there's always new ones, but you know, just to show them how a lot of celebrities are photoshopped even without their knowledge or consent. This is a popular young gal, Zendaya, had a shoot come out today and was shocked when I found my 19-year-old hips and torso quite manipulated. These are the things that make women self-conscious, that create the unrealistic ideals of beauty. Anyone who knows who I am, I stand for honest, pure self-love. So blah, blah, blah. So we do take a look at a lot of the current day photoshopped images and discuss those in class. We have a unit on sexting that follows our units on visual literacy, and that's super important because You know, kids see a lot of sexualized imagery online, and in some ways that becomes normalized to them, which is it's so hard to be a kid today, because then you come to the issue of sexting, which is basically sending sexually explicit images or video. And you can understand how kids might, there could be a gray line here for kids to think that maybe that's okay. And it's really not. This is a really serious issue to discuss with kids. Just some current stats: youth caught sexting today could be charged under their state's child pornography statutes. A recent study found that 15% of teens send sex, 27% receive them. That's 1 in 4 kids. So again, 1 in 4 in my mind is a lot, and especially when you consider the really serious ramifications of either receiving or sending a sex message. So we actually have a couple lessons on this within the curriculum that are super powerful, and it's a really important time to teach it before kids go into high school and might become under the misconception that this is okay to do. So really important to cover these lessons with your students. And then we end the year with a unit on digital leadership, and this is when we start looking at some of the emerging technologies coming out. We start looking at virtual reality, and we want kids to apply their ethical thinking skills as though they were going to be technologists making these technologies in the future. Within this unit, we also talk about your brain on tech. So we talk to the kids about what technology does viscerally to our brains and what causes us to come back and make it feel super addictive. So this is a really great way to end the unit. But we do have this extra little unit on research skills, and we put this in the final end of cyber civics because we really want to underscore those information literacy skills that they learned in level 2. And what we really encourage our schools to do is to do a final research project where the kids can apply these skills. So we go back and we take a look at, you know, filters and operators, which are advanced search mechanisms that they should know about, how to search like a pro and avoiding plagiarism, how to cite online resources, which a lot of kids aren't taught, and there's really a specific way to do it. And then they review copyright, fair use, public domain, and we finally talk about great ways to do and present things online. One thing I might mention that we just added to the curriculum was Zoom etiquette. I've learned this the hard way this year. Teaching kids on Zoom is like kids have never really been taught how to use these visual mediums. And so in my beginning lessons, I'd have kids come on and they'd make silly faces or they'd have inappropriate backgrounds. And so they need to be reminded that even when you do Zoom presentations, you know, someone could take a screenshot of you and share it elsewhere. And just the simple etiquette of when you go on to mute yourself, to unmute yourself when you want to speak, and all of that stuff I think is really important for kids to understand because they're going to be using these technologies much more in the future. All right, so just as a summary, and again, like I said at the beginning of this, it's so hard for me to communicate really how deep these lessons go with kids because it's a lot more fun when you do these workshops to have adults actually do these lessons together. But hopefully you can see how each of these different things are important pieces of knowledge for kids to have. And really the end game here is we want our kids to use their digital powers for good, like Superman. We want them not just to be digital citizens, like we talked about in level 1, we want them to be a digital leader, which is where we take them on this journey. We want them to use social media to raise awareness of things they care about and to stand up for others, to build an online network of people and organizations they admire and want to learn from, to use their voice to inspire and motivate, and to only post things they wouldn't mind anyone reading forever because everything you put online stays online forever and ever. The way we deliver these lessons is actually to the teacher online. So when a teacher subscribes to our program, they actually get their own personal account and they can download each lesson as they go, and the computer keeps track of what lesson they're on. And the lessons are delivered in PDFs with really simple instructions on how to deliver them in the classroom. So really easy for teachers. If you want to learn more, you can look at our website. One thing that we're really excited about is we just had the entire curriculum mapped to the academic standards, and we found that we met not only the Common Core English Language Arts standards, because all of the stuff is English Language Arts today, but also the ISTE standards for technology use, and super important, we did really well with the CASEL standards, which are the SEL competencies, social and emotional learning competencies. And right now with kids and a lot of stresses they're feeling, not only in school, but outside of school, that's a really important thing to check off the list to help make sure we're helping kids meet their social and emotional learning competencies. So that was pretty cool. And then we also have a website for parents and for teachers called cyberwise.org. It's full of free information on all these topics. If you look under our learning hubs, that pulls down to literally every topic that we've talked about today and more. And then we send out a newsletter every couple of weeks with new resources for parents and teachers. And then there's my book. It's available where books are sold. Please know that there's a free discussion guide. And what I really encourage communities to do, because none of us are doing this alone, we're teaching kids and raising kids together, is download the discussion guide and talk about the topics within your learning groups, because that's how we can support one another in teaching kids these important skills. And then we're super active on social media. We try to put out information and tidbits that's helpful to parents and teachers. So feel free to follow us on whatever your poison is, whatever your social media network is that you like to use. We have a lot of information out there. And as I ended last week, I'm going to end this week. The reason is that we do all this work is that we want to teach kids how to use the best internet filter in the world, and that's the one they keep between their ears. There's nothing as powerful as education. We can try all these other mechanisms to keep kids safe, but bottom line, they're online alone, often without us. And so it's really important that we teach them how to use it powerfully and productively. And I think, again, information literacy and media literacy are so important right now when kids are being assaulted with media messages that they just don't know how to decipher. And so giving them the skills to be really great media consumers is super important. So did that in under an hour. Thank you for sitting through that. And we do have lots of time here for questions. So please, if you have any questions or any comments, I would love if you put them in the chat group, or Hillary, if you want to moderate that, let me know. But I'd love to answer any of your questions.
I am happy to moderate that. Thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Past 2 weeks. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, let's see. As a grandmother raising her 11-year-old grandson, this information is helpful. Oh, thank you so much. That's got to be tough because boy, has the world changed, right? So thank you for taking time today to participate in this and just learning. And again, I will be sending Hillary a follow-up with the URLs that I showed today and some access to the lessons. If any of you want a specific lesson that I covered today, please let me know. I'm happy to share it. Just let me know what you need.
Let's just take just a minute then and thank everybody for joining us today. And thank you, Diana, for joining us the last 2 weeks. I so appreciate you. I really wish we could have brought you back. Looking forward to the day that we can bring you to West Virginia, do this in person.
Soon enough. I mean, how lucky we are that we have digital tools where we can still connect and share.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, I'll do a last call for any questions. And everyone, if you do have any questions, you can send us a message on Facebook at any time, and we will get back to you.
And vice versa, feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Let me type I'm going to put my email address in here as well. All right, well, I guess nobody has any questions then. And Kelly will be happy because we are.
Yeah, got you on time for your next one, right?
Yes.
You can even have 5 minutes to take a breather.
Yay.
All right, Hillary, I'll send you some follow-up information that you're welcome to share with all the attendees.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. You hang in there, everybody. Hope to see you in person someday.
Yes. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, hi, Kathy Davis. I miss you. I will see you soon, I hope. Thank you, everyone.